I'd like to introduce myself. I'm just a young East End boy. Born in Mile End Hospital, mum's little bundle of joy. I came into this troubled world in 1954. It was 9 short years of laughter and tears since the end of the Second World War. Born into the best of times, the 60s coming up fast, sweeping away all our yesterdays. A new day was coming at last. But as kids in the East End of London, we didn't care about that. We played in the street and our lives were complete with a ball and an old cricket bat. Playing the fool, walking to and from school because no one's mum had a car. Conkers and fishing for sticklebacks and leaving our street door ajar. Scraping our knees, saying thank you and please, cream soda and factory gates. Learning to swear when our mum wasn't there and making up games with our mates. Then came the Beatles and the Flower Pot Men, long hair and a short mini skirt. I was too young to go to San Francisco, but wore beads and a pink paisley shirt. Suddenly the world was in glorious colour, when all had been once black and white. The 60s went by in a blink of an eye, but the music stayed with us for life. A mod in the early 70s, with a Vespa and white stay-pressed slacks. Sunglasses, Parker and Ben Sherman's shirt, and me favourite girl on the back. Then the pubs and the cars and the new wimpy bars, and drinking became all the rage. Life had moved on and some innocence gone, coinciding with my coming of age. The 80s, my 30s, my 40s, the noughties, and now over 60 years old. My grandchildren now having kids of their own, and the future as ever is gold. I wouldn't change a day of it, through the laughter, the tears and the joy. Well, that's me introducing myself. Just an old East End boy.
Now that has just got to be the best intro we could ever have to our special guest today on Talking Stories. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let me introduce you now to the coolest author, poet, Chris Ross. Welcome, Chris, to our East London studio here in Leytonstone.
Thanks very much, Tony. It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's good to have you on the show. Now, tell us about East End, London. This is where you're from, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. As I said before, I was born in Mile End Hospital, which is the heart of the East End, and I still live in East London now. I guess we could have moved at some stage, like a lot of people did, but so I am really. You know, where am I going to go? And where am I going to go and still be me? You know, it just doesn't work, you know. But I'm happy with the East End. I love it. I love the East End. It's ever changing. And people complain about it. Well, there you go. It is what it is, isn't it? It's just,
it is what it is.
That's life, you know. I wrote something called The East End of London, and it's about, obviously, from where I started and what happened to the East End, how it changed the way it did. I'd like to read it for you, if you don't mind. This one, it's called The East End of London. It goes like this. Rose the terraced houses, 3 rooms up and 3 rooms down. Unlocked doors and hiding when the rent man came around. Cobbled streets and outside toilets, housing for the poor. The East End still bore many scars of 6 long years of war. Disused factories and bombed out buildings, debris round our way. To kids with runny noses, that was where we went to play. In and out of each other's houses and staying out till dark. And round the local cemetery that we treated like a park. Our swords were made from bits of wood and our shields from dustbin lids. We played our battles on the streets, proper warrior kids. Hopscotch run outs, hide and seek, and a goal painted on the wall. Sunday best and pie and mash, and swimming down York Hall. But during the 1960s, demolition was all the rage. The politicians thought that we should come into the space age. So they pulled down all our houses and built looming tower blocks. And for the first time in our lives, our doors all had double locks. That flawed social experiment did more damage than the Blitz. They took our East End way of life and blew it all to bits. We didn't want and didn't get their streets up in the sky, but broken lifts and broken glass, and no one told us why. But typical of Cockneys, we came through all that, and then they knocked down most of those monoliths and started out again. So Nazi bombs and city planners all gave us of their worst. But EastEnders, we're never going to have our bubble burst.
Now that shows us, Chris, that you are a poet, okay? You really are a poet. But how? When did you realise that you were a poet? When did you start writing all of this?
Poet. Now there's a emotive term. I don't know if I'm a poet in the true sense of the word, Tony. For me, poets are the likes of Shelley and Keats and Words, all them dead guys, Wordsworth and that. I'm just an East End boy who found out relatively late in life that if you rhyme a few words, you can entertain people, and and you can make people laugh, and that's the greatest gift there is, if you can make people laugh, but also be able to make people think about various. To me, the greatest poets, for me, like I said, Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Joni Mitchell, people who I can relate to. What they. I'm sure those other guys were talking about issues of the day. In the day, it just wasn't my day, so I don't understand that Moon in June stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand the Moon in June stuff, but it's not a bit of me. For me, I just want to put down stuff that happens on a daily basis, really, you know. And if I can get it to rhyme, brilliant.
So where do they come from? Where do they all come from?
It's just they can come from anywhere. Sometimes it'll be a line. I'll hear a line or something, or you know, it could be. I was listening to Billy Bragg. Billy Bragg does a song called Half English, and it's not the words. I mean, the words are brilliant, but it wasn't that grabbed me. It was the bounce of the song, and it's like. My mother was half English, and I'm half English too, and it was that made me. And I was in the car and I had to pull over, and I from that I got this, and it's called "I've Got a Mate." It goes like this: I've got a mate who's Muslim, and I've got a mate who ain't, but it really doesn't matter though, because neither one's a saint. I've got a mate who's Jewish, but we just call him Dave. I once knew a dope smoking Buddhist who went to an early grave. I've got a friend who's German, and I've got a mate who's Greek. Thank God they both speak English, so I would never get to speak. A couple of mates who drive taxis, and one used to work in the docks. Some of my friends are American, and one never wears any socks. One of my friends is left-handed, and one's of Jamaican descent. A bloke I once knew was about 6'2" and walked with his neck slightly bent. Quite a few of my circle are Irish, and they're always good for the crack. My neighbours came here from the Ukraine, and I don't think they want to go back. I once knew a fellow with a rolled up umbrella who never went out in the rain. Somebody I used to work with retired and moved out to Spain. Most of my mates would now wear glasses. We find that it helps us to see. I think Sinatra was the best singer ever, though some of you may not agree. The point is that everyone's different, though everyone's really the same. It's only the tags we put on them, and sometimes the tags are to blame. I know a girl who gets her hair curled, and I must say it looks kind of quaint. And I've got a mate who's a Muslim, and I've got a mate who ain't.
Love it.
I love that. I love that. That says a lot, you know. That really does. It says a lot.
Well, it's just kind. Like I say, I'm not a philosopher, but that's what I believe. And if I can write that down, and then, you know, if people like it, great. You know, what can I say apart from that? It's just you can't critique your own work, but if I can just go straight into another one, if you don't mind, because this is again where I got inspiration from. A friend of mine's a singer-songwriter, Errol Walsh. He's a great singer, great songwriter. And he wrote a song called 17. And I was sitting with a guitar on my lap, and I was singing the song. And the first line of the song is, "It's been a while since I was 17." And it made me smile. And I thought, yeah, it's about 1 million years since I was 17. And that's the first line of this, and it's called About 1 Million Years Ago. About 1 million years ago, when I was 17, we'd only just gone decimal and the pound notes were still green. Ernie was at number one, the fastest milkman in the West. And petrol was 35 pence a gallon, and we all drank Courage Best. The world had lost the Beatles, and Leeds United won the cup. Nottingham Forest got relegated, and West Ham United stayed up. I had my first car, a Morris Minor. That car took me everywhere. Bowie was Ziggy Stardust and I still had a full head of hair. I learned a lot about life that year, what with one thing and the other. I heard Chuck Berry sing about my ding-a-ling and Dr. Hook about Sylvia's mother. My work in life was underway and at last I had cash on the hip. I could take a girl out on Saturday night and treat her to Wimpy and chips. Me bell-bottom jeans had a 30-inch waist and I didn't need glasses to read. Maybe naive, well enough to believe that love really is all you need. My beard was a little bit darker and the future remained to be seen. About 1,000,000 years ago when I was 17.
That's a poem, isn't it?
That is great. We love that.
We love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, Chris, you have at last put all of these down into a couple of books.
I have, yeah. I did. I finally got round to doing it with one thought in mind. To be perfectly honest with you, I never intended to sell a book. My mum, God bless her, she's 91 now. She loves my poetry and she loves me reading it to her and so I wanted to put it down on a book. So she had a book on her coffee table that had my name on it, and she's as proud as punch to do so, you know. And so we did that, and the wife helped me put it all together and stuff. And we didn't look for a publisher. We didn't offer it to anybody and try and go through all of it. You go on a website, you self-publish. There's a site called Blurb, and I went on there, and you just put it. You have to do all the work yourself. You do all the typesetting, you choose everything, you design the cover of the book, you do everything yourself. You send it to them, they send you back a copy, blah, blah, blah. And the only cost is then to actually buy a copy of the book. And after buying a copy from my mum and then the wife, let's get one of, and then the grandchildren, and it kind of went on. And then I got an email from them saying that they could put it on Amazon and sell it if I wanted them to. Why not? I've got nothing to lose, you know. There isn't a cost involved, so they did that, and I would have to guess, if I had to hazard a guess, I don't know how many we've sold. It maybe 400, or I'm not going to be on the Sunday Times bestsellers list here, you know, and they're never going to make any money out of it. But it was never about that. It was never about making, and it's about making people smile. If somebody picks up my book, and I get feedback from people saying, "Oh mate, I picked it up and it said blah blah blah." I never put an index in there because I don't want it to. It's not a book. You don't read it as a book. You pick it up and you open a page and you read what's in front of you. If you try and read it as a book, I don't think anybody can read more than 2, 3 at the most before the next one doesn't make sense, because it's not the same bounce, it's not the same rhythm, and you think, oh, that one's rubbish. No, it's not. Put it down. Come back to it later. I don't write rubbish. How dare you? But that's where we got to. Where we got. You can tell by the title of the book that I never intended to sell it, because I'd have come up with a better title than that.
So what is the title? Come on.
Yeah, the first book is called The Ramblings of a Would-Be East End Poet. And it was also called Pie and Mash because of the cover of the book is it's a London Transport Rondell thing, and it says Pie and Mash across. So I designed it myself and put it on the book. And then of course the second book, and you've got to tie the two together. So imaginatively titled More Ramblings of a Would-Be East End Poet. Now everybody tells me now that if you want to sell a book, the first thing you have to do is come up with a very catchy title that everybody will remember. Nobody's going to remember this, but it's too late. It is what it is. I can't change that. And it's out there, and it's out there on Amazon. And the two of them are out there on Amazon. And yeah, that's it. They're out there and they're selling, and I'm quite pleased with it and surprised.
Now, Chris, we can sit here and listen to you all day, but we have to get to the main thing here. How do our listeners here on Talking Stories East London Radio, how do they find out more? How can we see more of Chris Ross?
Well, my main outlet is Facebook. The dreaded Facebook. I know some people hate Facebook. I love it because I think if you use it as opposed to it using you, it's a fantastic medium. I have a Facebook page, which again, a really catchy title, Chris. Well done. It's called Chris Ross's Pictures and Platitudes. Yeah, I know. It started off as I started doing photoshopping with pictures and putting them onto this page, and it was quite good. And then the odd poem went on, and so it was Pictures and Platitudes. And again, I can't change it now because on the back of both of the books it says Chris Ross's Pictures and Platitudes. But you can find it. I mean, if you and what I do now, I used to initially I would just put up the poem in text form, and one day I decided it might be a laugh to record one, and as a video, and I did, and. Oh my, there are now hundreds of them that you can catch up on, or not, as the case may be. But at the moment that's it. Or obviously from the books themselves that do tell a lot about me, because there's a lot of biographical stuff in there. There's a lot of nonsense in there. There's funny stuff. There's all sorts of. I don't want to sell the book on the premise that I'm some stand-up comedian. I'm not, and some of it's quite serious. I think some of what you've heard already is, but so really it's at the moment it's Facebook, or it's from the books themselves that obviously again I hate advertising, but are available on Amazon.
We're here to help you advertise and promote East London. You're an East London talent.
I know, bless your heart.
The whole world's discovering Chris Ross, poet, author. Come on, this is what we're here for. This is what we're here for. This is what East London Radio does best. Yeah. Chris, before you go, let's give us a good poem to finish with.
Right, okay. I'm trying to find something that's slightly different from what we've done. Now, favourite grub, best food in the world, pie and mash. You can't beat a plate of pie and mash. Now, where I come from in the East End, we go to Roman Road Market. That's where the pie and mash shop was. Currently closed, but they keep saying they're going to open it again when they've done the refurbishment. I hope so. And this one was one. It's called Another Plate of Pie and Mash, and it's one I wrote as I was walking down the Roman, and it goes like this. I was walking down the Roman and I thought I'd go straight home, and then I saw the pie and mash shop on me right. Then I smelt the pie and liquor and I slipped inside so quick I never gave a second thought to my new diet. Well, it wouldn't cause no trouble, so I ordered 2 and double with a splosh of liquor, vinegar and pepper. I went and sat down on my own and took a picture with my phone and smiled, because it doesn't get much better. Another fella sat down too. We smiled and nodded as you do, but didn't even pass the time of day. Because when it comes to pie and mash, it's order, sit, eat and dash. We wouldn't have it any other way. And when I finished eating, I stood up from my seat and someone else moved in and sat down in my place. We smiled and nodded as you do, and he had 2 and double too. And I left there with a big smile on my face. So if you're driving through the market and you can find somewhere at the park, or if you're going out to see the match, or anywhere you see a shop, there's always time for you to stop and get another plate of pie and mash.
Chris, it's fabulous having you on
Thank
the
you
show.
very much,
Thank
Tony.
you for coming
Thank you.
in. Oh, that's marvellous, wasn't it, Ian? Really good.
Bless you. Thanks very much.